And we're live, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Explain It. I'm your host today. I'm your single host. My name is Caroline Kane. Welcome if it's your first time. Ingryd Hernandez is typically here with me, but that lucky duck is at the World Series with her husband, Mark. So you have the pleasure of me and our special guest for today, Rilus Dana. Oh, I cannot wait to bring Rilus up on stage so you guys can get to know him and learn how to collaborate with more people outside of just talking to homeowners. He is a probate attorney here in Phoenix. He works with Pace Morby, so we even found him through Pace Morby. I've contacted Rilus a few times on things. He is very thorough and helpful. I want to make sure that you guys get to know Rilus. This is a resource that you want to connect with. Pay him for his time, because when you pay him for his time, you get to learn more from him and have more value and deals coming from that. So great opportunity. A few little things of housekeeping. I'm going to put him in the side chat for you guys after this. But one, for everyone, I believe in the comments below in the description, we do have the opportunity for you to win $50,000 by using Relay Financial. So if you look in the video comments description below on YouTube, you will see there's an opportunity to sign up with Relay Financial, $50,000 to you just for setting up your banking with them. If you're anything like me, I'm a just organized chaos to organized individual. I know where things are. They're just not as organized as I'd like them to be. Relay will set up all your accounts based on the Profit First model. Do it. Don't second guess it. Believe me, trust me, do it that way. The second thing I also believe below in our description, a fellow entrepreneur, it's a very sad story. Her daughter was kidnapped, raped, left for dead on the side of the road. And there's a GoFundMe in the links and below. She's in Mexico. It's a very, very sad experience. We're trying to just help them get back up on their feet. So that's in the description below. If you guys can donate $5, $10, that'd be incredible. That's just something that's just a little personal ask. So, and then a few other things while we get into this. Thank you guys so much for showing up today. I hope that you guys have been finding value from our podcast. We do this every Wednesday at 4:00 Arizona time. The whole purpose of the Explain It podcast is to take away the mystery of how to do more deals, how to get started, how to, not even just real estate, overall, how to unlock certain areas of your life that you didn't know was possible. So when you do have questions, please put them in the side chat. Let us know where you guys are from. And if you haven't already, share this with somebody, let them know. But I'm going through some situations with probate, and I cannot wait for this next hour with Rilus. I want to tell you guys, if you do not have leads, you do not have a business. You need to get some leads. Leads are the lifeline of your business. What's up, Jen? Hi. That's okay. But I want you guys to know, if you don't have leads, you don't have a business. So make sure you're always nurturing, bringing them in. You have something, you eat what you kill. You have something that you can count on near the end. So you can't plant anything in the fall and harvest in the fall. You got to plant things in the spring. You got to protect it through the summer, and then you get to harvest in the fall to make it through the winter. And that's what your pipeline is for. So probate is a great way to have more leads coming your way. And I will let you guys know. I'm going to talk about it when I bring Rilus up here. But with that being said, I have some of my leads where I have list stacking. So I have homeowners that are in pre-foreclosure, as you guys know. I'm going after the pre-foreclosure homeowners because they have motivation. They need to sell. They need to make a decision. When I recently found somebody who was in pre-foreclosure who just went through probate, and that is double whammy. They didn't even want to keep the property. They just wanted to let it go to foreclosure because they didn't want to have to pay the bills. It was $10,000 behind. The mortgage is $1,500 a month. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It's in Phoenix, and they just didn't want to have the liability on them. They were going to let it go. So there's lots of opportunities with that. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, David. All right, guys. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up Rilus Dana. I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then we're going to get to it. So with that being said, Rilus, welcome to the Explain It podcast. How's it going?
Hello. Thanks for having me. Going great.
Man, thank you for coming on.
Love talking real estate. Love this community. I love these are my type of people, the people that are out there chasing leads and in this business. So my day job is a probate attorney, so do estate planning and also probate. I'm a California lawyer as well, although I don't do California probates. They're too much of a pain. It's really hard for investors through the California probates for a few reasons. So I just had someone, Pace sent some of his SubTo students to me. They're having a problem they're trying to buy a property SubTo in California, and the attorney kind of put the kibosh on it because the attorney was wondering how he was going to get paid, which, yeah, it's very, very fair question, right? So one of the challenges with California probates is the attorney gets paid a fee based on the percentage of the assets.
Okay.
So this was a situation where there was a house with little equity, but the probate fee gets calculated on the total value. It's not the net value. So, and then the other problems with California is it has to be approved by a judge at the end.
Okay.
So you have to show them, how the house was sold. You have to get an appraisal in the beginning for California probate. So just, not surprising. Everything in California is a pain.
A little trickier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing this in Arizona?
I've been an attorney, I guess like 10 years, over 10 years. How long has it been? Since like 2008.
Oh, wow. A little over 10 years.
An attorney, yeah, over 10 years. And during law school, I was working in the business. So I was working at my dad's estate planning law firm during law school. So since like 20 years, if you count that, go back to like 2002.
So you've been an attorney and you also do some real estate investing.
Yeah. So I didn't really like real estate investors until I met Pace.
So that's actually really interesting. So why did you not like real estate investors?
Because, before I met Pace, most of the investors I met, they didn't want to pay anything and they wanted it done tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, thanks. I would rather earn more money and have a reasonable timeline.
That makes a lot of sense.
So it's, Pace is great. He kind of sparked my interest in this SubTo thing. This was probably about, I guess 4 or 5 years ago, going back that I met Pace. So I thought that was interesting in how he did things. And one of the main things that was different about Pace is, he's told the story a lot on it, but he's talked about how to work with probate attorneys, but it was quite the experience being courted by Pace. He made me feel very special.
So I know that there's a series that he's done before, and that was actually kind of cut short. So what would you like? Most of the time, your expectations with investors, which I think is very fair, they want it done quickly and they don't want it done for free and they need it tomorrow. And why don't you have it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But Pace made you feel like the hot girl. He did a really good job of paid you for your time and found like your pain points and was able to solve them. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. So he took the time to get to know me, to see what I was trying to do, what my goals are with business. And he helped me do a podcast back in the day. So he's like, you should do a podcast and come to my studio and do it next week. So he just kind of, set it all up, and he provided a lot of value to me. That's one of the things that was different is he was just looking for ways that he could help me.
So, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
Yeah. So that was different. He took a lot of time, just trying to help me with my business. And then also with the probate things, when he had situations that needed a probate, he was willing to pay me a fair fee.
So what are typically the things like as a probate attorney, because I've just started dabbling and I know I've messaged you on a few of my situations that have been hairy and I'm trying to get to where I can do more with you. What are some of the things that you struggle with that other people can look for with other probate attorneys? So when they do some courting, what was it like? Why was Pace so great? Why did you want to work with him? He paid you, but like, what were the main problems that you came upon your plate?
And I would say he was bringing me business in the sense he was bringing me legal work. You're right. As attorneys, that's what we want, right? We want legal fees. So he was bringing me, people that needed probate.
Oh, so how was he finding those people to bring them to you?
I think kind of like doing what you're doing, right? On the list, people, finding people in pain and
Mm-hmm.
people that needed to sell property for one reason or another. And a lot of times stacked in there is that it's still in the name of the deceased. Your title's still in grandpa's name and never got moved over. So that's one of the issues they need help with.
So to even before we continue on how PACE brought you value, I'm not sure if everybody understands what probate is. And I think that might be something to explain what is probate and when do you need probate?
Yeah, that's good to kind of back up and start there. So what is probate? It's the legal process to change title of an asset out of the name of the deceased. So look on title. If there's a dead person there, then you're going to need probate. You might need probate. So look on title. If one of the person's dead, if there's multiple people on there, it's possible it could go to the other owners. If it's tenants in common, it's not going to. But if, as the words rights of survivorship, if one of the owners dies, it's going to go to the other owner. So where probate comes in is where you have a property where it's titled in the name of the deceased. So probate comes from a Latin word meaning to prove. So you got to prove, who's entitled to the estate. And then you have to prove that they paid all their bills, that they paid their creditors. So there's a lot of hurry up and wait in the probate process. Now it's different state to state. So that's why it's important to talk to someone, to an attorney in that state, because the timelines and specific are going to vary in that state.
Each state has different rules for their probate process. Okay.
Yeah. So in Arizona, well, first of all, too, there's usually minimums too. So if there's a bank account that you need to collect, if everything that you need to collect is worth less than $75,000, in Arizona, you can do they call it a personal property affidavit. Where you're swearing that you're entitled to it. You swear that everything's less than $75,000. So they let you collect it without a probate.
So you mean even if the house is worth less than $75,000 or the property?
So a house is real property. They had the same thing for $100,000. So in Arizona, if there's more than $100,000 of value, and the way they calculate that is you take the tax assessed value in the year that you're going to do the real property affidavit. So if the person died 5 years ago, but you're going to do the affidavit now, we would look up and find the 2023 tax assessed value. Gotcha. And they do let you take out the value of a mortgage. So if it was a $200,000 tax assessed value, but they had a mortgage of $125,000, they have less than $100,000 of equity. So you can do what's called a real property affidavit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's one of the first things I'm looking at, right? So there's someone dead on title. We look at the value of it and say, all right, is the value where is it low enough where one of these things is an option, a real property affidavit? The other thing is you have to wait 6 months after the date of death. So what happens a lot of times is someone passes away. Well, to file that real property affidavit.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
It's got to be less than $100,000, and you have to wait 6 months after they passed away.
Why is that?
That's just what the rule. That's what the Arizona law says. So if you want to do that summary, it's got to be less than $100,000 and 6 months have passed.
Okay.
So that can be a challenge if there's a mortgage, and especially if it's already behind. Maybe if they're behind a couple months before they passed away. You don't want to wait another 6 months. So that's
good option.
What's that?
I was saying you could fall behind in that instance and go to auction. So typically you wouldn't do that. You'd just go through the probate process earlier than the 6 months to be able to get ownership.
Yeah. So now let's talk about the probate process timeline in Arizona. So if it is under, or if it's over 100,000, or if you're not able to wait the 6 months. So if someone's passed away, everything that was in their name, everything that they owned is now part of their estate. That's our lingo. Estate means everything that you own, whether alive or dead. So if a person owns a house, that's part of their estate. And if they die, their estate still owns that house if the title's in their name, period. So let's ask you a question, Caroline. I'll quiz you. I like doing like law school, they do the Socratic method. I do this to my clients too. I like asking them questions because it's more fun. But what is the document that controls a person's estate? How would you figure out where a person's estate goes?
Well, wouldn't it be the trust?
Maybe.
The will?
There we go.
The will.
Yes. A will, a last will and testament is a document that controls a person's estate.
Okay.
So the will says, it's really two things in a will. It says who's going to be in charge and where it goes. So if a person has a will, that'll tell you that. Now, if the property,
before we go any further, just deviate really quickly. How do you set up wills?
Yes.
How long does that take to set up a will? Because I've talked to a lot of people that don't have wills.
Yeah. You can do it in less than 10 minutes. I have a free one on my website. And my challenge is I think you could do it less than 10 minutes.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to throw that up there for everybody. If you guys don't have a will right now, go make sure you get it set up on Rilus's website right here. So you have it for you. Okay. I know I deviated and I got you off topic.
So, but yeah, so a will, now it's really important because it says where all your stuff goes. So if you go to riluslaw.com and towards the middle, it says free estate plan. And then you can download a template where you fill in the blanks. And that's the easiest way to make a will. Now, this is really important for the people out there that aren't married or that doesn't like their family. Because what happens if you don't have a will? You know, Caroline, what happens? Not everyone has a will. Then what do you do? What if a person doesn't have a will?
Well, from my understanding, that's when you absolutely need to go through probate so you can get the opportunity to keep the property. I don't know. I kind of think it just gets divvied up by finders keepers. I have no idea. I haven't had this situation.
It's not finders keepers. So, but here's another word. So if a person doesn't have a will, they call it intestate. Intestate just means no will. Oh. And so you look up the local laws, so the state laws for intestacy.
Okay.
So you can look up if a person doesn't have a will, you would look up, you would first want to look up the laws of intestacy to see who's entitled to it. And then you need information about their family, right? You need to know whether they're married, if they have kids. You also need to know if those kids are from a prior relationship. Oh. So because if they're so if a person passes away and they're married and the kids are from that marriage, then everything's going to go to their spouse. But if they had kids from a prior relationship and they have a spouse, then half goes to those kids and half goes to the spouse.
Oh, is that nationwide or is that just particular to Arizona?
So that's Arizona, and California is pretty similar. So I'm a California attorney too. Mm-hmm. I see Mark is asking about do we have to be in the state to complete it? This is valid under Arizona and California where I practice. So check in your states, but as long as the material provisions are in your writing or in your handwriting, it does not require a witness or a notary. So that's a common mistake I see. People try to make their own wills and they'll type something up. They'll even get it notarized, but if you don't have a second witness, it's not valid. So there's a lot of formalities to have a valid will. So the easiest way is just to do it in your handwriting. I leave my estate to Caroline. Sign it, date it, valid.
Am I allowed to be a witness? Is Caroline, the person you're leaving the will to, allowed to be that witness?
Well, it doesn't matter. If it's in my own handwriting, it doesn't need a witness.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if you do it in your own handwriting, that's the easiest way to make it valid.
So you could just be, you know what? I feel like I'm at the bar today. I have a cocktail napkin. I can write my own will on a cocktail napkin in my name, sign and date it?
Yes. But if it's on a cocktail napkin, someone might make an argument that you were intoxicated while you did it and maybe undo it for those reasons. But yeah. So
what a good one.
Yeah, so that's the easiest way is just to write it out by hand, and that'll be valid.
Okay. There's one more question while we're on this. Chance Cannon said, which is better, a living trust or a will?
Yeah, so a will says where your stuff goes, but it doesn't avoid probate. So far we've been talking kind of about the timeline, right? Someone passes away, you look to see who's on the title.
Mm-hmm.
If there's someone dead, then you need to find out if they had a will or not. So if they had a will, that's going to be controlling. If they didn't have a will, you need to find out who the closest family members are, and that's going to be controlling. But even if there is a will, you're going to have to do something to activate that will. So either do that personal property affidavit if it's less than the amounts, or you're going to have to activate that will through the probate court. So a trust is usually better because it avoids that court probate process. So if you own your house in a trust,
Mm-hmm.
the trust designates who's going to be in charge after you're gone and who the beneficiaries are. So the successor trustee can sell that house right away or transfer it. So it avoids probate. So a trust is usually better. The will is just for like personal property. So like for things inside of your house, that'll be controlled by your will. Your Beanie Baby collection, your bowling trophies, whatever it may be, those things are controlled by your will.
All the treasures you keep in there. Okay, that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. So going back into, I know we've kind of hopped around on this. So Pace has brought you a lot of value by bringing you business, getting you paid because you became an attorney, you went through law school forever, and you know how to make sure things are done the right way so that something doesn't fall back on an investor who's buying a property. So what are some other ways that we could potentially like reach out to work with you? I know you're not going to do stuff in California, but what is something that you're missing? Or if we're in South Carolina or another state, what are typically things that probate attorneys or estate planning attorneys need besides new opportunities to help do probates? What are you missing? What is driving? What do you hate doing as an attorney that we could take off of your plate?
Yeah, I would say kind of like how you started this, leads, right? That's the same thing. Attorneys need the leads. So that's my guaranteed way to get into an attorney's office is with the lead through their front door. Go in with the client that needs exactly the type of work that they do.
Gotcha.
So that's the main things. Now,
so with the leads, now I'm going to ask you this as well. Rilus, I know you know what you're doing. You've been on the ball and you're young and spry. Okay. If I don't know you from Jack and I'm in a new area and sadly, I don't live in Arizona and I need to find a probate attorney. I found this on YouTube. I'm watching this. How can I vet that a probate attorney knows what they're doing and they're going to be able to help me get this across the finish line? Like, how do I know you're legit?
Yeah, good question. It's tough, right? And I've been in the position where I'm having to look for professionals for my clients, and I'm in the same thing, and it's always a good experience. Or I enjoy it as a business owner, seeing what the experience is, right? Like when you call, like, does someone even answer the phone? If they do, are they nice? Or if you leave a message, do they actually call you back?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's just the little things like that. But and looking for a probate attorney or any type of attorney, I recommend finding someone that focuses on that one thing. So meaning if you're looking for a probate attorney, if there's someone that does divorce and car accidents and probate, that's probably not your best choice.
Yeah.
I would find someone that's limiting their practice to just that, to just the estate planning and the probate, and then just see what kind of experience you get.
That makes a lot of sense. You have an expert that knows this in and out instead of just being spread thin doing 15 other things.
Yeah. So if you have someone that needs the work, though, you have something valuable, right? So I love working with investors because I'm trying to get hired to do the legal work, but I know my job is I'm trying to help them close their deal, right? They usually they want to buy a property, but before they can do it, they need to do a probate. So it's kind of like both helping each other out. I realize that it's my job to help them do their deal.
Mutually beneficial.
Yeah. So I would say that the best thing you can do is a find a lead, right? And you guys probably have those opportunities. You're probably seeing them. They're probably out there, but don't be scared. View it as a good thing. Like this, if someone's on title, that's a good thing. So if you bring that lead to an attorney, what you want to do though is you want to do a little homework first. Where I was asking my paralegal Lori, what if I should say anything, or if she wants to give any messages to the investors, and she was like, tell them to pull their head out. She's like, no, don't tell them that. But some we get a lot of people that are very green, or they're like, someone died, I think I might need a probate, and it's like, well, who died? Oh, I don't know. Well, did they have? Are they married? I don't know. Did they have a will? I don't know. It's like you need to figure out more of these things.
So what are the important things right now? So we can clip this maybe. What are the important things that you need to know when we're going to be reaching out to you with probate information?
So we want to know, like, how does the title read? You guys can do that, right? This crowd here can pull up a title, right? You can pull up the deed. So do that. Who's on it?
Yep.
Because sometimes they're talking to someone, they're going, oh, this person needs a probate. And then we pull it up and there's a completely different name on there. It's like, who are you talking to? Like so pull the title, figure out, who's dead on there. And, do they have a will? And if they don't have a will, then you got to figure out the family members. So I would look up the laws of intestacy in that state. If it's California, just Google, California laws of intestacy. On my website, I have a little AI bot too you can use right at the bottom.
Ooh. Well, I just pulled your website up over here, so let's go through this really quickly because I love lots of resources. So where should we look on your website?
So that the bottom right, that's an AI-powered chat bot. So you can ask it about probate. You can say, help with probate. And I actually have another bot that this will take you to, a special estate bot. Yeah, there we go. So it's going to take you over to the estate bot. And you can say something like, person died with spouse or whatever it is. And it'll help you with the questions that you need to do the initial intake.
Oh, that's so cool. So here's the other bot.
Yeah. So are there specific assets? So this is, I train these bots. So the approach I take is, what are the assets you're dealing with first? What is it out there that you're trying to collect?
My mom's house. Let's see what it says.
There we go. Do you know how the house is titled?
That's what you just said.
Yeah, exactly. So, and this will guide you through. So if you figure out those details, where the investors that we like working with are people called and said, hey, I need some help. This person died. They do have a will. This person's a PR. Here's a scenario. They break it all down, and then that makes it much easier. The other thing, so that's number one. The attorneys are going to like you there, and then the way you'll get their future business is you want to look for ways to make their life easier. Like, hey, do you need me to get documents signed by the client? Do you need me to go out to the house and change the locks? Do you need look for ways just to make their life easier. And really what I would say is go to their paralegals.
Oh, okay.
Who their paralegal is that's actually doing all the work. And if you go to them, my paralegal Lori, she's the gatekeeper. There's investors that we like, and then there's other ones that maybe not as much. Maybe people that that she's talked to 3 or 4 times that are telling them the same things over and over. That's where she can get frustrated.
I like to call those, because I do a lot of the coaching in SubTo, and Pace has actually coined this term. We call them ask holes, where they just keep asking the same thing and they're not taking what you're saying. So yeah, that's very frustrating. So anybody on here, please don't be an ask hole. Take notes. You know what I do? I record stuff and I take notes so I can go back through. I'm like, what did he say here? Okay, I need to go do this. And great way to really retain things, regurgitate it to somebody else so you understand. I worked in a pizza place for a long time. I'd take the order and I'd read the order back to the person to make sure I didn't miss any toppings. The same thing when you're on the phone and you're paying for time with a paralegal, an attorney, anyone. Make sure you have all the details that'll help you out a ton, and then you don't miss anything. But we love to give you free advice just so you can continue to come back and get value, but you got to go use the stuff that you're learning, guys. You will do yourself no favors just getting in the continuum of having knowledge. No action, nothing can come from it. So make sure you're taking action with what you learn. That makes a lot of sense, Rilus. I say another question over here. There's actually two questions I wanted to get to before we get too far out of the weeds here. Elu said, what happens if the deceased has no siblings or children?
Let's ask you, Caroline. What do you do?
Well, then you're going to start looking for any relatives that they'd be related to.
There you go.
So brothers, no siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles.
Well, I guess, Elu, the first question we'd ask is, do they have a will?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So if they have a will, that would be controlling. If there's no will, this question happens a lot too. I get this, like, what if you can't find anyone? Then it's not going to go to you, right? Like you gotta go all the way down the line to like second cousins. Like if you really cannot find a second cousin, they're not going to give you the house just because they don't know anyone. So
because you found it, yeah. So what to find that second cousin, I've heard some people get like an ancestry.com. You just get an account there and see this is Rilus. Like, so I'm assuming Elu's question is probably going to be, he's been looking at pre-foreclosures. He's found this property and he sees that it is going to be going to pre-foreclosure, but he's deceased, or the person's deceased, can't find any family. And what if you can't find the will? What if you just found this property and you're trying to search? What should you do?
So I like asking this question, or looking at it this way: who's going to sign your contract?
Ooh.
I have people, like, they have their commissions calculated and everything, like how much they're going to make. But I'm like, who's going to sign your contract? The person on title's dead. You're talking to a friend. That a friend is no legal relationship to them. So Elu, what you need to do is you need to find the closest family member. And you're right, Caroline, that might mean hiring an investigator or a company to track that down, but you got to find someone that can sign your contract.
This is a really good tip too, guys. The harder the person is to find, I bet everybody else has already given up. And that could be you could be finding relatives that had no idea that they were going to get an inheritance from a property. So do the hard work because nobody else is going to. That could really separate you from, separate the boys from the men? That's what I'd do right there.
Yeah. Great point. That could be more of an opportunity, because if it was that easy, then they would have gone to it. But if you have to go a little deeper, it could be a good opportunity. But sometimes it's a deal killer, right? If you can't find it. Or another challenge could be is maybe they have 10 siblings. So all of them, would have equal priority. Sometimes that's the challenge. If there's a lot of people, you need all of them.
Getting them on the same page. After this question, I want to come back to that because I have a scenario for you, Rilus. So Mo said, are there states where the court can mandate the price of the house is to be sold for after probate? Maybe,
kind of. So California is kind of like that. So in California, you have to get a special appraisal by a probate referee of the real estate, and that gets reported to the court in the beginning. And then before you can close the probate, you have to say how everything got sold. So if the house got sold for less than that appraised value, you got to explain to the judge why. So that's why wholesale doesn't work a lot in California, because the judge is like, wait a minute, like the appraiser said this was the price. Why didn't it sell for that much? I know there's probate attorneys in Orange County, California, that are also realtors. So they double dip both ways that way, where they'll do the probate and then they'll be the realtor as well. So that way,
wife will, or their husband will.
Yeah, and it just depends on kind of county by county and by judge. So in Orange County, this guy was telling me that the judge doesn't really mind that, but yet they don't like to see the wholesale. If it's sold for a different price. So that may be what you're running into, Mo, something like that. So I don't know how the other states do it, but I know California requires that appraisal, and then the the judge is more closely. You got to work with them more closely to show them what's going on. And there is probates in California where you actually have to get approval to sell it. Depending on the type of probate, you might have to go back to the court to have them approve the sale.
Oh, wow. Man, California, I've never invested in California, but it just sounds like a pain.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So Mo said, sounds like it happened on a possible deal in Rhode Island. All right, so now I want to get to this question I have for you. So I mentioned earlier, I had a property I saw that was in probate, and then actually I found out a few days later that it was in pre-foreclosure as well. Okay, it was an uncle who had passed away, and there are, I believe, 6 people that are in the trust. Okay, it's a property. It's in Maryville, Phoenix area, so it's just.
Is the property owned by a trust?
No, well, no, but it's. I think he has a will, and there's a trust. And I'm saying trust. The estate.
Sometimes what happens, there might be a will that pours over into a trust. So if the house isn't in a trust, he could have a will, but the will says add it to the trust. So you have to do probate. And
I think I misspoke when I said trust, because my idea, let me spit my idea to you and let's see what you think about it. So I was saying we could put it in a trust for them. So I misquoted. I know that there is an estate to John Doe. Okay. So what I did with this situation, I saw it was in pre-foreclosure, and I remember being like, oh, I looked at this a while ago as a probate lead. This is somebody who's passed. So I found family members, found the brother, actually door knocked the brother, and they welcomed me in. It was a great conversation. They said, we actually have nothing to do with the house. The nephew does. So they gave me the nephew's phone number. Then the nephew, wanted to see the contracts. Wasn't really, he's like, well, our biggest concern is we don't want the estate to stay open after this happens. So the ARV on the property is like $310,000. The mortgage that's still in place, the payoff is $280, and the payment on it, the PITI, is $1,500 a month. So I would do a visual here, but I'm not going to pull it up. So there's just not a lot of spread there, and the house is not 2023 condition. I mean, it's livable, it's rentable, but it's dated. It looks like it's from the 90s. They've just painted over the cabinets. It does have stainless steel appliances, but it's nothing really fancy to write home about. They're like, you know what? We don't want to spend the $10,000 to catch the mortgage up. We're just going to let it go to foreclosure because we've already talked to the bank, and they said if it goes to foreclosure, there is no liability on the estate. The family's big concern is they didn't want to have to pay anything. So when I reached out to the nephew, I said, well, I make affordable housing. I make housing for veterans. I want to, if you guys would be interested in it, and I'm not saying I can, but if I could get you guys some money in your pocket and I could catch that up and put families in here, would you guys be interested in selling? His biggest concern, everybody's concern with SubTo is, well, what happens if you don't pay? Or what happens if people from affordable housing trash the property and then we get it back? His biggest thing is we want to close out the estate. We don't want to keep the estate open because there's 6 family members that are involved. What would you do in this situation? I was thinking you make a trust and let him be in charge and they're all beneficiaries. What would you do here?
So really the concern is the debt, and the debt's in a dead person's name, right? Yeah. So who cares, right? What if they don't pay? Mm-hmm. You're talking about affecting the credit of someone who's dead.
Would it affect the estate at all if it goes back? What do you?
So the house is an asset of the estate, mm-hmm. right? And it sounds like there's little to no value, but there's no equity, because it sounds like if they tried to sell it, there's not enough equity to pay the expenses to sell it.
Yes, correct.
So if they go to sell it, they're not going to get anything. Mm-hmm. They probably have to write a check, right, to pay an agent. So that doesn't give them anything. Mm-hmm. So I'm dealing with this in a few probates right now. I know there's at least one. There's a big property by what's it called? The skydiver place down in Casa Grande, Eloy, down in Eloy. I think it's like 10 acres, and there's a mortgage on it. And so I send it out to investors and people, but no one's willing. So the cash offers are coming back for less than what's owed on the mortgage. And then, same situation. So I told the family, we had someone that was willing to pay them $5,000 to buy it SubTo, so that way at least they get something. Mm-hmm. the way I presented it, it's like, what do you want to do? It's like either you can just let this go away and get nothing, or at least this way you get something. Now the mortgage is a little tricky because a lot of attorneys aren't going to like that's staying in there.
Okay.
But I don't care. Meaning it's a secured debt, right? The mortgage, their security interest is the property itself.
Yep.
So they don't really care who's paying them, because if they don't get paid, they're going to take the property back, and that's how they get whole. So I look at it as transferring the asset part, the deed, which you can do.
Mm-hmm.
But in Arizona, informal probate, I would be okay with that. If the family's receiving something, that's better than nothing. That's how I look at it. It's pretty easy, right? It's like, do you like this option? It gets you something. But the easy thing for the attorneys are scared about liability, right? They're always scared about everything. So that's why just having it go back to the bank, it's just over for them. Mm-hmm. So I would just emphasize the issue of, what do they want to receive for this asset? This is a way that they can receive something for the asset. And they can still close the estate, right? Once they transfer all the assets out of it, because the new buyer is buying it subject to that mortgage, right? Mm-hmm. And if there's not really a risk to the family in that situation, because you're talking about debt in the name of the deceased. As long as you transfer all the assets out, then you can close the probate.
That makes a lot of, it makes sense to me. And I explained it to him, but I just wanted to, his big concern was what happens if, so the estate will be closed. I'm just trying to think of all scenarios to talk about his question. So say I did get abducted by aliens. I don't make the payment. It does not go back and reopen the estate, or doesn't come back to them. I'm not going to miss payments. It's never happened. But just if he has that question, what happens? It's just like, oh, he's the previous homeowner that the debt's name was in. He's passed away, and it's just going to go to foreclosure.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Okay. So if I need to, I could connect you with my homeowner, and I could pay you for talking to them and explaining everything.
Yeah, maybe. I don't really do that too often. It's hard to convince them, right? But sometimes I just think it's not really a concern.
Yeah.
The concern is, I would just try to get down to what is the concern. I think their choice is either they can receive something for that asset or not. If they're not comfortable, then just let it go to foreclosure.
Well, yeah, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still.
Yeah. But so who are you working with on that one then, Carolina? Are you working with?
I'm not working with anybody. I've just been talking with the nephew, and I've said the same thing. I was like, would you guys rather get something? I don't know what I can get you. I even, talked to Pace to see if he wanted the deal. I keep looking at it. It's just north of, Grand Canyon University. So I'm going to talk to the nephew again. But I didn't know what to do. And that's when I talked to Ingryd, and she said that you were coming on Wednesday. I was like, I can't wait to bring this up to Rilus. So I think they've already done probate. He passed away a couple months ago, and they're just trying to settle the estate.
Yeah. So who's the decision maker is what you got to figure out.
Oh, the nephew. I'm talking to the nephew.
Is he the personal representative of the estate?
He is the one that is in charge of the house with the estate, but there's brothers and sisters that are involved. So he said that he wants to understand everything before he goes and talks to the siblings and see what they want to do.
So you need to figure out there's one who's legally in charge, and then there's kind of the dynamics too, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes it sounds like this is a family where sometimes they want to vote on everything and do it all that way. I try to discourage that. And that's not a bad thing necessarily, but what concerns me is what if they don't agree, right? They could all have different good ideas. Mm-hmm. So then what are you going to do? So someone needs to take charge and just be like, this is what we're doing. This is, it has to be fair and in everyone's best interest.
Absolutely. Sorry, go ahead.
And so if they put it up to the family every time, someone's spouse is probably annoying. It's usually if there's 4 siblings and then someone's spouse or girlfriend thinks that they know, and then you get
Yeah, you get somebody else. Too many chiefs and not enough Indians in the situation, or too many chefs in the kitchen, whatever the phrase may be. I think it comes back down to I need to do a better job of telling stories and talking to them on the benefits for them. So that's just another way that I can get better when I talk to homeowners or heirs of estates to be able to resolve stuff.
Yeah, and just to keep it really simple. So whenever I'm talking to homeowners, when I have my investor hat on and talking to people, I try to psych myself up to dumb it down. I'm like, what would Pace do? And I remember going to some appointments with Pace in his Prius. You go there and you're like, oh, I'm probably not your buyer, this and that. And I was like, oh, you're not going to buy that? He's like, no, we probably will. but I saw how he kept it really simple. And especially as an attorney, I always want to talk a lot, I guess, is my nature, and show that I know all these things, but you want to keep it really simple. So like back to your example, you're talking about equity of the house. What solutions do they have that gets them any type of equity? Oh, nothing? Here's one where you get something.
Yeah.
Are there some risks? Sure, but what is a risk? So you're talking about the risk is the debt in the deceased person's name doesn't get paid. But why would I do that? What the buyer buying this is buying it for the mortgage, right? That's really the valuable thing that they have. So that's the only reason they would get money, right? Is if they have a better mortgage than someone could go get themselves today.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, I'm going to record my next call, and I will let you know how it goes, Rilus. Thank you for taking the time to answer. I see Indigo said, thank you. This is, you always drop so much beneficial info. Appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. So I'm glad this is helpful. Rilus, we're winding down. I want to be mindful of your time. I want to make sure that I share this one more time for everybody. This is Rilus's website, and you guys can reach out to him. I've reached out. I've talked to Lori a few times. I'm going to throw the info in the side chat again, but it's riluslaw.com. So you can see it up here in the top left corner. Contact them. Bring your probate leads here. Rilus answers every question. The whole team is really good. So I just want to make sure that you guys have connected with him, because Rilus, you've been so great every time I reach out to you. So I really do appreciate it. But
well, great. Yeah, I love working with investors, because you're a source of repeat business too, which is nice. Where once you figure it out and get a deal done, the next time you see that scenario, we're ready to go back in business. I just started working with another investor again. This was someone, he worked with me about a year ago, and then he thought my fees were too high. He tried some other options, because what's, earlier talking about interviewing an attorney, and a challenge there is sometimes the prices aren't always the easiest to understand. They may say, oh, I can do a probate for $2,500, send me a retainer. But then they burn through that, and then they need another 25 and another 25 and other things. But this investor that came back to me, after working with some of those other low cost options, he realized the difference between my practice is that when you call, someone usually answers. It's never me. I don't answer, but there is someone during business hours to answer, and they can help right away. And just it's nice to see that he understood the difference, after going other places. And we've done a few probates for him now. Some of those were had kind of a time crunch, where they're already the probate, or not the probate, the foreclosure process was started. So we're already kind of concerned about getting someone appointed as soon as possible.
When you say that the foreclosure process has started, what do you mean? Because I know in Phoenix we have 90 days from notice to auction. What do you mean in the foreclosure process?
I mean, they already had an auction date.
So that is the foreclosure process.
Yeah, meaning they're already behind, and they've received notice from the bank that that they have an auction date. Sometimes they have just the notice, that it's gonna start. But I think this is the one where they already had an auction date.
Oh wow! So why is that such a concern? How long does it typically take to go through probate?
They usually don't do anything. This community probably knows better, but usually nothing happens for the first, 30, 60, 90 days. And they're starting to be pretty fast is what I'm seeing now. So after that, 60 or 90 days, they send you another notice. And then I think they schedule that hearing usually pretty quick after that. The hearing might be in another, 3 months or something.
Dang. So it could take up to 9 months for a probate.
Well, yeah, let's go back to the timeline. So if they're filing an Arizona informal probate, it takes us about 2 to 3 weeks to prepare the paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
And then we file it with Maricopa County. It sits there another 2 to 3 weeks. And then they'll appoint the personal representative. So in 4 to 6 weeks is when someone would have the authority to sell the house. So as soon as a personal representative gets appointed, they could sell the house. There's still lots of steps to finish the probate. They have to notify creditors and start a 4-month waiting period, but they can sell the house. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks to get them that authority.
Man, and they only have 90 days for that foreclosure process.
Yeah, that can be the challenge. And then sometimes with, we were talking about the real property affidavit earlier, where there may be less than 100,000 of equity, but they're not able to wait 6 months. They don't want to wait 6 months to collect it by real property affidavit. So we'll start the probate process so they can have the authority in 4 to 6 weeks.
Man. Okay. Wow. Well, Rilus, I appreciate you coming on here. I want to ask you a few fun questions.
Yeah.
Okay? All right. So Rilus, if you could go back any time in your life and you can talk to yourself for 2 minutes, you have 2 minutes to talk to yourself any period of time, when would you go back and what would you say to yourself?
Oh, I don't know. When would I go back 2 minutes to talk to myself? I would go back probably to my 18-year-old self and say, buy Apple and Google. That's like 25 years ago. Everything else will work out. Just you're fine. You're doing everything you need to. Don't worry about it. But I guess that's what I would say.
Apple and Google. Okay.
That probably worked out good if I did that 25 years ago. Hopefully I'd listen to my future self and be like, okay, I'll do it. You said
you're so wise. I'll listen to you. Exactly. Yeah. Well, Rilus, so you do some investing too. What does investing for Rilus, the investor, look like?
Yeah, so I'm looking for creative deals in Arizona, specifically Tempe and East Valley. So looking to purchase something for myself to live in Tempe near my kids, but trying to buy it like an investor, where I'm not emotional. It's got to make sense and kind of pencil out. And
what's your buy box for Tempe? 3-bedroom, 2-bath. What are you looking for?
Yeah, 3 to 4 bedroom, 2-bath. Yeah, 3 to 4 bedroom, 2-bath. Under 600,000, 10% entry fee. Close to cash flowing at a monthly rate.
Okay. So
if it's since it's for my personal residence, I'm okay if it's a little bit over the monthly cash flow number. So,
and for everybody new in here, just for that 10% entry fee. So he's looking to be in the deal around $60,000, and that's including the closing costs, the renovation budget. So he wants to be able to be in the house at $60,000. For anybody new, I know some people are confused on what that means. So great. Tempe, I love Tempe. So that is something I've told my partners. I'm like, let's try and get properties as close to Tempe as possible, because that's just a good market to be in. Are you trying to be closer to ASU, anywhere in Tempe, near Chandler?
I like the kind of near ASU area.
Yeah, that's a fun spot to be. Okay.
Yeah, fun spot to be. I have today I'm in my Mesa office, and then I have offices in Scottsdale too.
Oh, okay.
So Tempe is nice. It's right in the middle for me.
Okay. So we'll look for some deals that we can bring you. Where should we send those to you if we find anything? Should we just contact your office?
You can, or you can email them to me. So my email is it's my name, Rilus at riluslaw.com.
riluslaw.com. Okay, I'll throw that up there for everybody. So if you guys get a deal in Tempe, that is minimum 3-bedroom, would like to be a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house, $600,000 with $60,000 to get into the deal, email them to Rilus. Rilus will help you guys close your deals, get them done on the probate side so you guys can move a little bit quicker. And you're absolutely right, Rilus. Once we get into a groove, guys, I talked about this morning on the Daily Dial. We've got to create new habits. But once you get in a groove and you understand how something is done, working with Rilus, working with experts that know how to close deals faster makes it easier for you to do more deals and to replicate it and then have more teammates to take on more for you and get you going. So send the deals over there. If you have anything in Tempe, to Rilus. What is this? So JC has the question. When you say close to cash flowing for the primary residence, so just say if the rent rate is $3,000 a month, he would like to be around, below 20. If he's at 2,700, that's really nice. But if it can cash flow, it's right around a reasonable rate. If it's over 3,000, say it's 31, maybe 3,200, it's okay because it's his primary residence. It doesn't really need the cash flow. He would just prefer it to be under that, so there is some cash flow. Does that sound about right, Rilus?
Yeah. Yes. Like cash flowing at like a long-term rental rate. So yeah.
Yeah. There was one property I was talking to for a while. It did not make sense. It had a pool. It had a lot of land. It was right near campus. But it needed a complete renovation. I'll have to see what's happening with that guy because he actually had moved out of it and was living in a hotel because it needed so much work. He was ridiculous on his numbers. So I'll see if he's made any decisions and I'll shoot it over to you. Rilus, thank you so much for coming on to the Explain It podcast. Is there anything that you'd like any tips that we can take and how can we get you back on the podcast again?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'd love to be back here again. If it's valuable, I'd love to come back. I enjoy the answering questions and helping out. I would say it's not that hard. Just do a little bit of research, right? Just figure out, who's on title. Do they have a will? Who are the family members? And if you have that information, the attorneys are going to love you, right? Because you're bringing them. That's a lead to them, right? So you're going to make it easy for them to make money the way that they do, and then they'll help you close their deal. So
hit the nail on the head, guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's lots of opportunity out there. Don't be scared if you see dead people on title. It's a good opportunity. Find their family members and become that trusted advisor, and then you're in. So a lot of times when people bring the probates to me or legal work to me, there's already a real estate person on the team, right? They already have a realtor. They already have someone that they're going to work with because it's usually someone that shows up and starts helping them is who they continue to work with. So if you help them find an attorney and the trusted advisor there, they're going to want to work with you to sell the house.
Oh, absolutely, guys. That is what separated me from everybody and why I've been able to do more deals. Make yourself be seen as that trusted advisor. Bring tons of value. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. We are here every Wednesday at 4:00. The Explain It podcast. This is free 99. We just want to keep giving you guys value. Rilus is on here for our first time. We can get him to go into the weeds on some more situations. We'd love to help you guys out. Just let him know that you got some value. If you guys would, please. Rilus, do you have a Google business page?
Yeah, I do. I have a few of them.
Oh, this is what I like to do. So, guys, only if you found value today. Don't say anything. But if you found value, if you did not find value, talk to me so I can make it better. I would like it if you guys would go over to Rilus Dana's business page. Thank him. Let's see. Where can I find it? Here we go. Rilus Law. I found it right here on Google. How many reviews do you have? Perfect. Let's go give him some more reviews, guys. Hop on Google. Right over here. You guys can Google search him. Rilus Dana. Here's one. Write a review. Easy enough. And just thank him because he went a little into the weeds, told us about trust, told us about will. I want Rilus to come back. Let's lead with some value so he can come back. Let him know you found value. Come back in here on Wednesday. We will connect with you again. Rilus, thank you. Thank you so much. Next time, I hope Ingryd will be on here with us.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, thanks, Ingryd, for having me as well, for reaching out. Sorry I missed her this time, but she got a better offer, so we don't blame her, huh?
Hey, I would be at the World Series too. When's the last time I was here? 2001?
Yeah. Long time ago.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, have a great night. Thank you so much, Rilus. Guys, we'll see you later. Have a fantastic week.